Another energy issue that you've been engaged in recently is nuclear energy. The disaster in Japan has raised new questions about nuclear programs in the United States and elsewhere. And recently you wrote a letter to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission that they should consider newly discovered fault lines before granting license extensions for operating nuclear plants. Most of the U.S. nuclear plants are near the ocean. Several of them, like Diablo Canyon in California, are near earthquake faults. How do you think that we should respond on the nuclear front after Japan?
Well, we have 104 nuclear plants in this country, 2 in California. About 23, I think, have the same nuclear system as the Daiichi system. And I think there should be deep concern over what happened in Japan. It's a big learning lesson. I've visited now the 2 nuclear plants, both Diablo, run by PG&E, and San Onofre, run by Southern California Edison. And what I found there was staff very much concerned about safety. Really good staff, 1,100 staff at Diablo and 3,000 staff at San Onofre, each one producing about the same amount of megawatts. However, what we have is a lack of attention to the whole fuel cycle, and particularly the spent fuel cycle. Hot rods are put in pools where they remain for up to 24 years now in our state. They should remain there for 5 to 7 years. Then they can be transferred to what are called dry casks, which are like cylinders that are made to survive. They were made as transfer products for the fuel rods to be put in and transferred into permanent nuclear storage somewhere. That was going to be Yucca Mountain. Yucca Mountain is no more. I believe very strongly that we need either regional or centralized nuclear fuel storage. I think it's asking for trouble to keep hot rods in spent pools for decades and dry casks right on the site of nuclear reactors. I think they should be moved away.
Recently, the U.S. CEO of Areva, which is a large French nuclear agency, said, "Give us your waste." They apparently, send it over to them. Is that a possibility? Transporting it might be a problem. No one wants this stuff to go through their neighborhood on rail yards. But
well, again, I'm reluctant to say because I haven't heard that, and so I wouldn't just make a quick answer.
Okay. But how about the number of plants we have and their quake safety? Some of these plants are coming up, and do you believe that they're fully ready for the kind of earthquake that we hear in California know is likely going to happen? These plants were built 30, 40 years ago, to lower seismic standards.
Right. Well, California is what's called the Ring of Fire, and that Ring of Fire goes around the Pacific. And we've seen Banda Aceh, and we have seen the quake in New Zealand, and we have seen the quake in Chile, big quakes, and the big quake with the huge tsunami in Japan. The United States Geological Service says the likelihood of that kind of quake in California is remote, that probably we would not have a quake over 8. And that may be stretching it. I'm not sure I believe that because I'm not sure anybody's really in a position to know what Mother Nature will do.
Japan didn't expect the quake they got.
Right. So I think we've got to take a very good look, and I'm dedicated to it. I chair the subcommittee that provides the funds for the Nuclear Regulatory Agency, and I'm going to try to push as far and as fast as I can push to see that we really take a good look, a real examination at all facilities. What they're finding in Japan now is that corners were cut and things were not done that should have been done in order to save costs. And we can't afford that with nuclear energy.
Jeff Byron is Our guest at the Commonwealth Club today is U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. I'm Greg Dalton. Jeff Byron is a former member of the California Energy Commission, and he said the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is a captive agency. It's been captive by the industry. The industry pays for the NRC, and it's been a rubber stamp. Is that fair?
I don't really see that, to be candid with you. It is true, just as the FERC agency is paid for by
the Federal Energy
Regulatory Commission is paid for by power plants, essentially.
Right.
This is the same situation. I had the chairman before my subcommittee, and he was, I thought, very direct, very forthright. He has followed up on everything I have asked him to do. I differ with him because he has said that these plutonium rods, hot, can remain in the spent fuel pools for up to 100 years. I just see no evidence that one can come to that conclusion, because these, in a big earthquake, it looks like the spent fuel pools, some of them ruptured in Japan. And I think we don't know for sure, but that's what it looks like. And that the fuel has leached and the hydrogen explosions came from that. So we need to be very careful and see and really know what we are doing.
And once we decide, there's going to be the question of cost. Who's going to pay for this? And the utilities will have a choice of either trying to get their ratepayers to pay for it or their shareholders to pay for it if they're investor-owned utilities. Do you have any thoughts on who's going to bear the cost of shoring up America's nuclear power plants from the lessons learned from Japan?
Well, to get a nuclear permit takes a long time. So it's not the fastest game in town by a long shot. And I think now there's going to be a real look at the industry, a look at the containment zones, a look at the reactor, a look at the dry casks, a look at the spent fuel pools. And until that's completed, I don't really think we're going to face the question of new nuclear power plants.